Late Night Health continues with a subject that touches each and every one of us. It can affect and change your life dramatically. If you're a parent-to-be, or a grandparent, you got to listen to this as we talk with the executive director of the Organic and Natural Health Association. A few weeks ago, they submitted a petition to the FDA. We're going to find out about that here on Late Night Health with the insane Daryl Wayne, and I'm Mark Alyn. Karen Howard, the executive director of the Organic and Natural Health Association, we were together at a press conference which was eye-opening. Tell me about the press conference and the purpose of it.
Well, I think, as you know, Mark, we've been working on nutrient-based research and educating people on nutrient deficiencies for quite some time. So we've become very familiar with the body of research for vitamin D, courtesy of our partner Grassroots Health, who does all this nutrient field trial work. And recently there was a study published out of the Medical University of South Carolina that showed unequivocally that when pregnant women got their vitamin D serum levels between 40 and 60 nanograms per milliliter, the chance for them having a preterm birth went down 60%.
Oh, my. And how many people were in that study? 1,000 people?
Over 1,000
women
were in the study. Needless to say, it doesn't take multiple years to generate results on a pregnancy study. And this combined with this compilation of what people have been able to ascertain around the power of vitamin D over the years, including its safety, especially when it comes to pregnant women. There have been a lot of studies around this work, prompted us to file a petition with the Food and Drug Administration for a health claim that says higher levels of vitamin D reduce the risk of preterm birth. Very simple, very well proven.
And here in the U.S., we're number one in industrialized countries for babies who die the day they're born. We
are, and what the CDC says is that trend is not going down. So we're actually having more babies at risk, enormous expense for each one of those children born, and those that survive, and certainly in terms of what parents have to go through with this kind of pain and agony around the worry. And I mean, anybody who's had a baby in NICU knows that this is the most stressful thing that you can go through. And to think that just a very simple monitoring of vitamin D levels can reach that potential where this risk is so much lower. And it's higher in the African American community than it is in any other community. So it's something that we really need to look at hard and take immediate action.
Absolutely. And vitamin D, folks, it's cheap. I mean, it's an inexpensive. You can get a high quality vitamin D very inexpensively. Very inexpensive,
very accessible to everyone. In this particular study, which was done at the hospital, what they did. This is, I think, one of the most significant things that was an outcome. We don't do this work for the sake of research. We do this to change lives and to change how the healthcare system is actually designed. Because right now, all we're doing is treating disease. And with the change that happened in this research, the university has now determined that they themselves will change the standard of care for all pregnant women who come through their healthcare system and manage the vitamin D level of all those patients. So in that regard, you really are changing something very quickly and not relying on government or bureaucratic medical associations, or just actually on results and actually seeing people's lives change in front of your eyes.
The March of Dimes, has that been part of this study or part of the outcome, if you will?
No, it's interesting that, conventional medicine, this is something that we face quite a bit. For a long time, I think people, and certainly I can speak for myself, really took dietary supplements on the promise that they were working. And with this ability to measure vitamin D levels, and now, we're measuring omega-3 levels as well, you get a different level of science that it makes it much more compelling to present to the conventional medical world. And in large part, I would consider the March of Dimes to be a part of that. So we're now entering in conversations with them for a big medical group to change their standard of care, like the OBGYNs. It's a long and complicated process. It impacts the delivery system through primary care into specialty care. So, they make sure that they do a very methodical and thoughtful job about how they change practices and standards of care, which is frustrating for the rest of us who know that this works. That said, we're in conversations with hospital systems around the country who are very anxious to see this and implement this kind of work in their own institutions.
And the March of Dimes has been around for years and years and years, and their mission is to help with preemies, isn't it? It
is preterm birth and disabilities. And most of our statistics, if they're not from the CDC, they certainly are generated out of the March of Dimes. I mean, using their data alone, if we were able to reduce the number of preterm births by 50%, knowing that we could do better than that, we'd have $6 billion available in the healthcare system to spend on other things, and or around something like 225,000 families would be able to avoid this outcome.
Amazing. And at the same time, the petition to the FDA, I understand it, is something because the FDA really hasn't changed their thought processes maybe since the 60s. And nobody who worked at the FDA in the 60s is still working there. But the infrastructure is the same.
If you read the mission of the FDA, it becomes quite clear that FDA is really primarily concerned with safety, not about health. So I take a little bit of solace in the new Commissioner Gottlieb's comments in the last week around the fact that we need to focus on health. And while, yes, his comments are more focused around the more traditional things like reduction of sodium in the foods and reduction in smoking risk, and certainly, not much you can disagree with there. Being able to expand their worldview of what nutrition really is, we might be at a time where we actually can make a little more inroad, but culturally, I can't disagree with you. This is an uphill battle, and for that reason, we're headed to the Hill next week to take this message to Congress, and we're implementing a grassroots campaign that coincides with our visits that says, this is how my life has been impacted, and we can't stand for the fact that our next generation is suffering this way, and future generations will continue to unless we do something as simple as monitor vitamin D levels.
And we've talked about this on Late Night Health, the food pyramid that we learned, in the 4th and 5th and 6th grade and all the way through high school has certainly changed somewhat over the years. But things like low fat and fat intake, the methodology has changed. It's just different.
So many things that we thought were good were bad. It almost works to our disadvantage to continue to say, raise your hand and see if you think food makes a difference in your life, because we're a fickle lot, and we'll fly to the next trend, whether it's paleo, which is a reincarnation of something else. We're good about doing that. When the reality is that whole foods and knowing your nutrient levels is really where everybody needs to start from the youngest of ages. So, being able to convey that message to a larger audience, the Hill is filled with young staffers and lots of people who are working on getting pregnant. It's a really interesting audience to take a message to like this. It's any kind of health message, but this one in particular, I think will really resonate with people because everyone suffers, throughout the country on this one. It's like this one we can universally get behind. Now, I don't know if that kind of grassroots pressure will have an impact on the people who review a submission that's about 12 inches tall, frighteningly.
Wow.
But it goes to show you that there is a significant amount of data behind what we're claiming, and it's not just this one study, which has really tipped the edge for us in saying this is the time we need to act.
I have heard from other associations, in fact, you and I think have talked about it as well, that vitamin D deficiency in the U.S. is at an all-time high. We don't go out in the sun because our bodies produce vitamin D 20 minutes a day is all we need, and yet we have this deficiency, and so supplementation is important. I know that the last time, I just realized how long ago it's been, I was told I had a vitamin D deficiency and that I needed to up my vitamin D intake supplements.
Right. And the other thing about this is so just assume, unless you are running on the beach 20 minutes a day, at least 3 times a week, in shorts and a T-shirt, that you're vitamin D deficient. And so people will, it's very common now for physicians to take that, to have people take that test. But most people walk out and they say, my doctor said my vitamin D level was fine. So let's add one more complicator to that, which is there's a mathematical error in the work that the Institute of Medicine did, which they have acknowledged.
Oh, wow.
So that the recommendations coming out of the practitioners are too low of a dose and way too low of what constitutes a good level. So if you're in the 20s, they'll think your level is fine. It is not. It is woefully low based on math, and certainly based on the research that is being turned out now. So you really do need to pay attention. That's why we have nutrientpower.org for people to go and be able to participate in the study and measure their vitamin D and omega-3 levels, so you actually know. And in 6 months you can test again without having to go to your doctor. And you pay for that, but you can get some great discounts on products if you choose to. And so, people don't really know what their levels are and what the implications of that low level can be.
Are the tests inexpensive?
The tests are, for the vitamin D one, is $60. For the combination, it's $99. As I said, when you enroll, you can then get 50% off a really great omega-3 and a vitamin D. So that helps us offset the cost. But we have more than 12,000 people in the vitamin D cohort and over 900 in the omega-3 vitamin D. And
how much vitamin D does Karen Howard take on a daily or weekly basis? Do you know offhand?
2,000 IUs a day.
2,000?
5,000 in the winter.
Wow. And I know people who have taken, I know somebody who's taking 20,000, I think, 3 times a week.
Well, and if you're taking 20,000 and you're not actually, this is the other thing that's important to know, and this is what people don't follow up with. Sometimes you can take a lot of vitamin D and it's not upping your level, so there's something else going on. In many ways, it could simply be that you're also magnesium deficient.
Oh, interesting. So you need to...
so this is one of the things that we're really interested in is we know that unlike a pharmaceutical, the way these nutrients work in your body, they all collectively act on each other. That's why this doesn't work so well in a randomized clinical trial. So when you put it in a population of people, we can actually see individually and as a group rates of cancer, rates of colds, flu, and how you compare individually. You can see that against the cohort and against the population at large.
And
so
vitamin D can help with all...
develop these great practices.
And vitamin D helps the body fight infection and colds and flus, and I mean it does so many different things. Briefly, I came up with an idea. I think we should build a wall, but around Big Pharma. I just thought I'd throw that out. That's my opinion. And give me a 30-second overview of the Organic and Natural Health Association, please.
We're an association that actually represents the entire supply chain when it comes to food and dietary supplements. So from raw ingredients and restorative agricultural practices, where we hope that all of our members begin to derive their dietary supplements, into manufacturing, finished products. And the really wonderful thing is that we also have retailers who are members and consumer groups, and they will be joining us on Capitol Hill next week to be able to carry this message about how important this is.
Wish I could be with you. Karen, thank you very much. Organic and Natural Health.org, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct, and nutrientpower.org.
Okay, nutrientpower.org. We will talk soon. Karen Howard, thanks for helping take care of America.
Thank you, Mark.
I'm Mark Alyn, along with the insane Daryl Wayne. Up next, Robert Clancy. Don't go away. More coming up.
Welcome to Guide to the Soul. This is Robert Clancy. You are a beautiful masterpiece of celestial art. God sculpted your body, painted your portrait, and forged your blessed soul from the stardust. As with any masterwork, you may weather with age or get damaged a bit along the way. But doesn't that add to your beauty and mystique? Don't ever change who you are. You're loved and cherished in heaven just the way you are. Of all the challenges you've faced in life, you can be only made better for them. The greatest masterworks on earth have all been ravaged by the tests of time, only to become more revered in their inherent beauty. Always know you're one of God's masterworks meant to shine in that same way.
For more inspiration from Robert Clancy, visit GuideToTheSoul.com or go to the Moments with Robert page on LateNightHealth.com.
If you or someone you love suffers from drug addiction, now is the time to utilize your private health insurance PPO plan. If eligible, receive up to $30,000 or more in substance abuse benefits with low or no out-of-pocket cost. We are the National Treatment Network, the premier drug and alcohol treatment referral service operating 24/7. We help connect you with facilities nationwide that accepts PPO private health insurance for substance abuse. If you have PPO substance abuse coverage and you need immediate admittance to a medical detox or residential rehab treatment center, call us now. Call our live referral helpline today. The call is free. This program is not available to Medicare or Medicaid customers.
Call 800-296-1252. 800-296-1252. 800-296-1252. That's 800-296-1252.